It's official. The British deep state is now out of control, in charge and doing all it can to undermine the government. Boris Johnson and Liz Truss aside, the former Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab is their biggest scalp yet. The game plan is now familiar. A staunch Brexiteer, tick. Challenging the orthodoxy of the woke blob to get things done, tick. Attempting to use the law to stop the boats, tick. Won't bow down to snowflake civil servants, tick. Just like the Home Secretary Priti Patel before him, Raab checked all of those boxes. So they called them both bullies in what Raab correctly described as a, quote, tyranny of hurt feelings. The only difference this time was the Prime Minister. Boris Johnson had the balls to stand by his closest ally, Rishi Sunak. He folded at the slightest hint of pressure. And the decision to throw Raab under the bus has untold consequences for this Conservative government to enact its policies, which were overwhelmingly endorsed by the British public. As Raab himself told GB News in the hours after his exit, there was a coordinated campaign by the activist civil service.
Do you think that perhaps civil servants coordinated a campaign to remove you, a political campaign?
Well, there was certainly some coordination. One of the complaints was struck out because they'd written it together. They were all submitted on the same day, which is the 15th of November. I think a few came just a little bit later. That can't be coincidental. I also know that I was warned by a very senior member of the government, a senior civil servant, that there are increasingly activist civil servants mobilised by the FDA union who are looking to target ministers.
Now, you'd think, given the scale of this potential scandal, the rest of the British MSM would be all over this story. Quite the opposite. It's clear to anyone with half a brain that the media, notably Sly News and the British Bashing Corporation, has been in cahoots with the blob to force Raab out. And when that eventually happened on Friday, they actually gave the game away by going on air to celebrate.
He thinks it is a bad thing that the media got hold of accounts of his behaviour, which he contests, and thinks that that's unacceptable. Really, we wouldn't be where we are today without the reporting, not just on Sky News, but on The Guardian and other media outlets.
Some officials who had to work with Dominic Raab were offered therapy. Behaviour was described as nasty, horrible and manipulative. This is all becoming very difficult for Dominic Raab. When a minister is in the firing line for this long and with such pressure, you do have to wonder about their future.
I saw him seething at other senior people, hard staring at you. Lots of it was what I'd describe as microaggressions.
Allegations about civil servants being too scared to go into his office. It's even the rather notorious claim that he once got so angry in a meeting that he threw a tomato from a Pret salad at someone.
What Raab's departure brings back to this place is a sense of scandal.
Now, as it turned out, Raab never actually chucked a tomato, but he's still branded a bully simply for trying to get the woke blob to do what they ought to. It's a terrifying precedent and puts Brexit and the government's bid to stop the boats under threat. The civil service must be totally overhauled, with ministers allowed to hire their own officials.